Emily's days were a blur of tired smiles and aching feet. She scraped by on tips and hope, barely enough to keep her dreams alive. Working long hours as a waitress at a small diner, she served customers who rarely noticed her weariness. One afternoon during a break, she sat down to eat a simple lunch she'd packed. But before she could take a bite, she noticed a young boy standing nearby, eyes fixed on her food. He looked thin, hungry, as if he hadn't eaten in days. Without hesitating, she broke her sandwich in half, giving him the bigger piece. Emily didn't know that across the room, a man in a suit had been watching closely. Little did she know, this small moment of kindness would set off a chain of events that would forever change her life. Hi everyone, welcome to Mystic Tales. Today I'm excited to share a new story with you. Emily's life as a waitress was demanding. Her shift began early in the morning, just as the sun started to rise. She worked at a small neighborhood diner where regulars came in for their morning coffee and strangers passed through on their way to work. Each day felt like a repeat of the last, taking orders, filling cups, clearing tables. Most customers were polite, but no one really noticed her. She was simply part of the background. Her uniform was faded and her shoes had lost their shape long ago. Each night, her feet ached from hours on the floor, but she never complained. For Emily, this job was more than just a paycheck. It was her way of holding on, living alone. She didn't have family nearby, and the friendships she'd made in the past had faded over time. The diner gave her purpose. It kept her going. But money was always tight. Most weeks, she barely made enough to pay her rent. Her apartment was small and simple, with just the basics. A bed, a worn-out couch, a small kitchen. Some nights, she'd sit in her quiet apartment, thinking of all the things she wanted to do, but couldn't afford. Dreams felt distant, but she still held on to them. One day during her short break, she finally sat down at an empty booth in the corner of the diner. She'd brought a sandwich from home, something simple but enough to satisfy her hunger. She unwrapped it slowly, feeling grateful for this small moment of peace. Just as she took a bite, she noticed someone outside the diner. It was a young boy, maybe 8 or 9 years old, standing just outside the window. His clothes looked old and a bit too big for him, and his face was thin, his eyes large and hollow. She watched as he stared at her food with a hunger that went beyond words. Emily felt a pang in her heart. She knew what hunger looked like, what it felt like. She'd been there once herself, struggling through tough times when she was younger. Without a second thought, she waved at him, gesturing for him to come inside. The boy hesitated, glancing around as if unsure, but eventually, he stepped inside the diner. He moved slowly, almost shyly, and sat down across from her. Emily pushed half of her sandwich over to him, smiling softly. "Here, eat up," she said. The boy's eyes widened in surprise as he took the sandwich. He held it carefully, almost as if he was afraid it might disappear. Taking a small bite, he chewed slowly, savoring each taste. Emily watched him, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. In that moment, nothing else mattered. She didn't care that she'd be hungry for the rest of her shift. Seeing him eat was enough. Across the room, unnoticed by Emily, the man in the suit watched carefully. His gaze stayed on her, observing each detail of this quiet, selfless act. There was something thoughtful in his eyes, as if he was considering something important. But Emily didn't notice him. She was focused entirely on the boy and his quiet gratitude. As the boy finished his meal, he looked up, giving Emily a small, shy smile. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice soft but filled with emotion. She nodded, feeling a strange sense of peace as she watched him head back outside, disappearing into the street. She didn't know it yet, But her small act of kindness was about to set something powerful into motion. Something that would soon change her life in a way she couldn't have imagined. Emily returned to her shift, her thoughts lingering on the boy. She felt a mix of warmth and sadness, knowing that while she'd helped him today, she couldn't solve all his struggles. Still, she hoped he'd find some comfort from that one shared meal. As the hours passed, the routine of her shift took over. More customers came in. Orders were taken, tables cleared. But she kept glancing at the door, wondering if the boy might come back. By the end of the day, she was exhausted. The diner had been especially busy, and every muscle in her body ached. Her feet were sore, her back stiff from bending and lifting trays. She was used to it by now, but it still wore her down. As she changed out of her uniform, she found herself thinking of her own childhood, remembering times when a small kindness had made all the difference. Her parents had struggled too, but they'd taught her to share whatever little they had. That memory stayed with her, reminding her why she'd shared her food without a second thought. The next morning, as she walked to work, something unusual caught her eye. Tucked under her apartment door was an envelope. She paused, bending down to pick it up, puzzled by its presence. She hadn't expected any mail, and it wasn't common for someone to leave anything there. Curious, she opened it. Inside was a simple, handwritten note. "Kindness doesn't go unnoticed. Thank you for caring, even when no one else was watching." Emily's heart skipped a beat as she read the words. She turned the envelope over, but there was no name. No address, just those few lines. It felt almost surreal, like something out of a dream. For a moment, she stood there, holding the note in her hands, trying to make sense of it. Who had written it? How did they know what she'd done for the boy? She thought back to the diner, wondering if any of the customers had noticed. But the diner had been busy, and she hadn't seen anyone watching. As she slipped the note back into her pocket, she couldn't shake the feeling that something bigger was at play. The message was simple, but it touched her deeply. Someone had seen her small act of kindness, and they'd taken the time to acknowledge it. In a world that often felt cold and indifferent, that small gesture reminded her that kindness still mattered, even if it seemed invisible. Emily carried that thought with her as she made her way to the diner, the note a quiet source of strength. She didn't know who had left it, but it made her feel seen, valued. Little did she know, this was just the beginning. The note was the first step in a series of events that would unfold, changing everything she thought she knew about life and the hidden power of kindness. As Emily stepped into the diner that morning, she couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted. She replayed the words from the note in her mind, feeling a sense of warmth that hadn't been there before. Throughout her shift, her eyes wandered to each customer, wondering if one of them had left the note. But everyone seemed as ordinary as ever, busy with their own lives, lost in conversation or scrolling through their phones. A few hours into her shift, the door opened and a familiar face walked in, the man in the suit. He took a seat in the corner booth, the same one from the day before, his gaze steady and observant. Emily felt a flicker of recognition. She remembered him sitting there the day she'd shared her lunch, watching quietly as she helped the boy. She served him with her usual warm smile, noting the kindness in his eyes. He thanked her softly, his voice gentle but carrying a weight she couldn't quite place. As she cleared tables nearby, she noticed him watching her again, not in an intrusive way, but with quiet curiosity. Something about his presence felt comforting, as though he understood more than he let on. When he finished his meal, he left without a word, leaving a generous tip that surprised her. Tucked beneath the tip was another note, just as simple as the first one. It read, "Sometimes small acts lead to great changes." Emily felt her heart quicken as she read it, the words resonating deeply. She glanced around, but he was already gone, his seat empty. She held the note tightly, feeling a strange mix of gratitude and curiosity. That evening, as she walked home, she couldn't stop thinking about the man and his words. It was as if he saw something in her that no one else had. Emily knew, somehow, that these messages were more than just notes. They were signs, gentle nudges toward something she couldn't yet see. The following day, Emily arrived at the diner with a heightened sense of anticipation. She kept glancing at the door, half expecting the man in the suit to walk in. Hours passed and he didn't appear. Her shift continued as usual, serving customers, clearing tables, refilling drinks. Just as she was starting to lose hope, the door swung open. The man in the suit entered, his expression calm but purposeful. He sat in his usual booth, and Emily approached him with a polite smile, her heart racing. He looked up at her, and, for a moment, their eyes met. "Emily," he said softly, surprising her by using her name. She hadn't told him, yet he'd known. He explained, simply, that he'd noticed her kindness toward the boy. Her selflessness, he said, had left a lasting impression on him. Then he reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a sealed envelope. He handed it to her, his gaze warm and encouraging. "Open it later, when you're alone," he said, his voice filled with an unspoken promise. Emily nodded, too stunned to respond. After he left, she held the envelope in her hands, feeling its weight. It felt heavy, not just physically, but with meaning. That evening, in the quiet of her small apartment, she opened it. Inside was a handwritten letter, and something she hadn't expected at all. The letter explained that he wanted to offer her an opportunity, a chance to build a better life. It included an offer for a new job and a generous financial gift to help her start fresh. Emily's hands trembled as she read, the reality sinking in. This was more than she'd ever dreamed, a gift born from a simple act of kindness. In the days that followed, Emily's life transformed in ways she could never have imagined. She accepted the man's offer, stepping into a new role with steady pay, respect, and a brighter future. The financial gift helped her move to a safer neighborhood, into a modest apartment that felt like home. For the first time in years, she didn't have to worry about making rent or going without meals. Emily's routine changed, but her heart remained the same. She found herself looking for small ways to help others, remembering the boy and the power of one simple meal. One afternoon, she returned to the diner where it all began. The familiar faces, the comforting hum, it all reminded her of how far she'd come. She asked about the young boy, but learned he hadn't returned since that day. Part of her hoped he was safe, maybe even feeling the kindness she'd shown him. As she left, she felt a deep gratitude for the man in the suit, for the boy, for the countless people who had unknowingly played a part in her journey. In that quiet moment, Emily realized something profound, that small acts of kindness could ripple outwards, changing lives in ways we may never see. Loved this story? Tap that like button and subscribe to Mystic Tales for more. Let us know how this story made you feel with a single word in the comments.